What's up, everybody? Welcome to day 4 of the Centurion Test Drive experience. Keep hanging on, keep learning new things. I had to say that yesterday, the feedback, the communications that I've had was by far like through the roof. We're on an upslope for sure. So a lot of good questions, a lot of good messages sent my way, a lot of good feedback on ways that those of you that are taking this experience are going to be putting teams to use. So that was good to hear. One thing that I want you to be thinking about, and Sharon Houghton gave me a great example of the ways that she's going to be using a feature or a function within Teams. One thing I want you to be thinking about is how you could put Teams to use as you learn these different things, like within your department, within your day-to-day tasks, within your classrooms or whoever that you're working with. And then we're going to set aside some time on day 10 on that Friday for you to share or give an example of how you're going to put it to use. I think that's going to be super beneficial for all of us that are in this experience, and even myself as I try and figure out how you might see this tool being able to put to use for you. So be thinking about that. Another thing that I want to add, I haven't given very direct instruction on this, but when you're doing the homework, so if I go to the homework channel here, it would help to alleviate some of the congestion and some of the confusion, I think, if you do your posts or your reply to the actual homework posts that I do. So if I go to day 3, for example, and I didn't put it very clearly, but instead of doing a new conversation down here below, if you just reply to the homework post and do your response there, that would kind of help to keep things segmented so that we don't have everything all over the place. If you did it this other way, totally okay. Okay, I don't blame you. And it's kind of cool that you started a new post, but now that you know how to do that, let's try and do just a reply to the actual homework post and keep kind of building those skills. So awesome job so far. I've seen a lot of great stuff. One thing I want to mention, obviously you did a great job with chat, so I want you to think about how chat differs for you and your use of chat as compared to your use of email. Remember, with chat, you can still search for any past conversations and keywords and stuff like that. You can send a chat attachments and you can jump into a video chat. It's not like I'm sitting here trying to promote chat or anything, right? But I see a lot of benefits with using chat, in all honesty. And so I'd like you to think about how you might be putting to use a tool like chat going forward when it compares to email. So enough about yesterday's work. Let's focus on today. Today we're going to focus on the file functionality within Teams. Like I said, Teams allows us to be able to collaborate on files. It allows us to be able to share files. And I know I'm kind of going in reverse order here. But it also allows us to access our stored files. So another tool we're pulling in. Yesterday we talked about email. Today we're going to talk about being able to access all your files within Teams. Teams makes use of both SharePoint and OneDrive. So you might be familiar with SharePoint, but check this out. So when we created this team in Teams, it also created a Sharepoint site for us. So you see Centurion Test Drive, the total Teams experience. And I already went to the document area, and you can see that every time I created a new channel, okay, you can see that these line up with the channels that we have. It also creates a folder for sharing or for storing our files. So you see the general homework, questions and answers, and supplemental information folders. Well, if we go back to the team, we have a corresponding channel for each. Private channel is a little bit different. We'll talk about that when we get to the private channels day. I'm not sure what day that is. But if we were to go to, for example, the homework channel and then click at the files tab at the top, we're going to see that we have some files added here. Quite a few. And some of you have added files as well, which is great. Okay, any files that you share within that channel are going to show up in the files area within that channel. So if I go back to the SharePoint site and I click on the homework file or folder, excuse me, it's going to also show all those files right there. So we don't have to go in Teams, but Teams allows us kind of a one-point access to communicate, access our SharePoint files, and it also allows us to access our OneDrive files. So as I pointed out on day 1, and it might be a little tricky to find it. Sometimes if it's not showing up here, you got to click on these menu dots. But you can see we can find our file area. So check this out. Teams is going to allow us to access any recently shared or accessed files. Pretty cool. It's also going to allow us to filter those down and say, hey, we just want to find the files that we've recently shared or have shared at all, I should say, not recent because we were just in the recent, but shared within our teams. And you can see all of those different files there, okay? And you can also access your individual, you, the single user you, okay? So in this case, it's Kevin Wagonmaker, by clicking on OneDrive. And that's going to give me access to all of my personal OneDrive files. These are not shared with anybody else unless you choose to share those with somebody else. You can also directly access them in your OneDrive by clicking on this button. You can create new files from here. So maybe you want to start a Word doc or create a PowerPoint presentation. You can start it from here. Maybe you already have a PowerPoint presentation that you're working on and you'd like to bring it into your OneDrive. All you have to do is drag it from a folder and drop it. Now, I need to scroll down a little bit because I don't want to drop it in one of these folders that already exist. I want it to just be in the part of the general file area. But if I do that and I drop it, it will eventually, and you can see it's uploading right now. If I want to share, I can share items from here. If I want to upload, so if I don't want to do a drag and drop, I can click on upload and that will access my computer's hard drive. So we already talked about sharing files in teams. The beautiful thing about sharing files in teams is it allows us to share with whoever is in the team, obviously. But the cool thing is we can create, so in this homework tab, I could create a brand new PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to call it sample. And this makes it very quick and easy for anybody that's in the channel to already have access to this presentation. So maybe you have a department that needs to work on a shared presentation or a Google, or not a Google, or a Excel spreadsheet, or maybe it's a Word document, and everyone needs to have access to it. All you have to do is create or add that file to your channel, and everyone in that channel automatically has the ability to edit it. If you don't want to access it in Teams, that's cool. If you're more of a SharePoint person, you can run back to SharePoint, and you'll see that once we refresh it, that file is there and available. So the cool thing about this is I added this to a channel that all of you have access to. So if you want to test this out and try and check on me, make sure I'm not fibbing with you, go ahead and go to the homework channel, click on Files tab up at the top, and you should be able to locate that sample PowerPoint. You can even edit it. So go ahead. You can add a slide to it, play around with it, have some fun with it. If you feel like adding other files to this area, go for it. Okay? Or you can use your test team that I gave you access to. Just a couple more items. In addition, we talked about chat and the different availability of file sharing within chat. If you're having a chat with somebody else, you can easily share files as well. Okay? And I showed you that yesterday, but if I go and locate the business department and find my test user friends, we can go to this files area, and just like we did before, we should have access to all of our different files. Now, the only difference here is we're not going to be able to add files from this way. We actually have to add the files through the chat area, and then they will be shared for all of the different users. Last and certainly not least, if you do a video meeting or an audio meeting with a group of people, you can share files in the chat area that's contained with that as well, and you can reference those files later on. And those files will also show up in your general file area, which can be found right there. So as far as today's assignment goes, all you have to do is share a file with us. So what you're going to do is I'm going to post this prompt in the homework area. I want you to reply to this specific post with a file of your choice. Could be a picture, could be a PowerPoint presentation, could be just a poem on a Word document. But either way, I want you to reply with a file. Pretty simple thing. And after sharing, I want you to double check and check the file tab of the check the file tab of the homework area just to make sure that that file showed up in that storage area, as it should. And once you're done, you're good to go. And if you have any questions, don't forget to ask. It's been nice coming to you from a new location. A nice little change of pace here, being back on campus for a little bit to install some virtual conference systems for the classroom for, who knows, summer, fall, going forward. Should be good. So have a great day. If you have any questions, let me know, or hit up the Q&A session or the Q&A channel. And I look forward to talking to you some more. Have a good one, Centurions.